For now, Carney is the prime minister-designate. So what are the next steps now?
Well, they're going to have to swear him in as prime minister. He'll have to resign first, and then Carney will be sworn in, and he'll have to appoint a cabinet. Then it's up to Carney. He's got a choice as to whether he wants to ask for an election or whether he wants to meet Parliament and try to establish some kind of governing agenda and see if the opposition parties will let him establish kind of a governing record, or whether he wants to go to voters straight away. It's not clear that if he goes back to Parliament that he'll be able to survive, right? He could lose a non-confidence vote and have to face an election anyway. So I think we're probably looking at an election fairly quickly. My instinct is earlier is better, but the advantage to waiting longer and trying to govern is Carney can actually do things. And so he couldn't get rid, if he wants to, he can try to pass legislation getting rid of the carbon tax. He can put forward some policy initiatives that he can then campaign on. That is contingent on him having enough support in the House of Commons to do that, and that's an open question. So it's why I think maybe an early election is more likely, but there's a trade-off to be made here.
Carney currently does not hold a seat in the House of Commons. He is from Edmonton, but running in Ottawa, I understand, would be much safer. Where do we expect him to run, or where do you rather expect him to run for his seat?
So I don't know what's in his what he's thinking in this respect. He's got options. The Edmonton option, that's a really strong risk. Guessing if he's going to run in Edmonton, it'd be Edmonton Centre, and there's no guarantee the Liberals win that seat, even if the Liberals are riding high and do well in an election. And it probably doesn't look good to have a leader lose a seat in an election. So I think that's a high-risk strategy, and I'd be surprised if they take it. There are seats in Ottawa and Toronto, and Carney will have to make a decision as to where he's most comfortable running. And you'll have to also look at who is stepping down from caucus, who doesn't want to run again, or who'd be willing to give up a seat to allow him to run. Because if Carney runs in a place, somebody else can't run there.
If we take the global picture of the prairies from Manitoba, Saskatchewan to Alberta, we know that the Conservatives are still the favorite in most ridings, but there are some competitive ridings with those numbers that we have that we'll be looking to see. Northern Saskatchewan should be a good Liberal seat if the Liberals do well in an election, which is not something we would have said in recent weeks. Same thing in Manitoba. Winnipeg was looking bluer and bluer in the projections until Mr. Trudeau resigned. And in Alberta, we know that Alberta, most seats are Conservatives, but there's a few spots in Edmonton and Calgary that will be worth looking at, especially, and I don't want to throw any rumors here, but especially if Mr. Carney decides to run in Edmonton. He repeats, he said it again in his speech yesterday, that he grew up in Edmonton, played hockey there, and if he wants to run in Edmonton, that would really spice things up I think in the numbers and in the province. So yeah, there will be some interesting ridings to watch during the campaign in the prairies.